Hey folks, you know 'em, you love 'em. It's Weird Game Bugs. So I fully realize I'm late to the party, but for those of you who are unaware, there is currently a bug with Caesar's Guard that sometimes it will drop with no core attribute, and other times it will drop with a weapon damage core attribute. Anyone who's played with Empress International knows that's weird. They're supposed to come with skill tier cores. But for right now, sometimes they drop them with a weapon damage core. And while being mildly annoyed by that, I was intrigued by the prospect of creating a build around this piece. Now, as a full disclaimer, the developers do have a planned fix for this bug for title update 17.2. Those of you watching in the future can tell me if they fixed it or not, and also how they fixed it. They obviously haven't detailed that specific. I don't know if they're going to take away the current pieces and correct the core to a skill tier, or if they're just going to correct future drops of Caesar's Guard to roll with the correct skill tier attribute. So there's a big disclaimer on this. All of these pieces could suddenly change with title update 17.2 to correct this issue, but if they don't, or until then, here's a build to make use of a rather wacky bug that lends itself incredibly well to a hybrid skill build. So starting off with our specialization, as with most of my hybrid builds, I've gone with the Technician specialization, specifically for the +1 skill tier that it provides. For a primary weapon, we've gone with the Capacitor, mainly for the Capacitance talent, particularly that second paragraph where for each of your skill tiers you also get essentially half of a weapon damage core. For a secondary weapon, we've gone with the Harmony Rifle, which has the perfectly in sync talent on it. And this is for those moments where you're not using a capacitor and you're aiming at more mid to long range targets. Another option here would be the Mop for that plus 10% armor on kill, but I've specifically gone with the Harmony because of the Caesar Guard chest piece. You want to buff your skill damage as much as possible to increase the number of kills that your skills are getting, which thereby increases the chance of resetting your skill cooldowns. And since this is a hybrid skill build where we don't have 6 tiers when we're using our primary and secondary weapon, I've gone with the TDI card custom here. You get that +1 skill tier to get you up to 6 tiers when you're using your sidearm. And then on top of that, we have the in-sync talent rolled here to increase your skill damage even more. For our mask, we've gone with our first piece of Empress International. And then in the attribute slots, leaning into that hybrid feel, we've gone with armor regen and skill damage, and then we have critical hit chance in the mod slot. For our backpack, we have our Ninja Bike messenger bag to help give us some additional brand bonuses and really lean into that hybrid feel. When we're going with a hybrid build, the lack of a backpack talent here feels like it isn't quite as debilitating because the primary goal isn't just straight up skill damage or straight up weapon damage. It's a blend of the two, and that's a place where you can take advantage of the resourceful talent and get yourself some additional brand bonuses and allow yourself a little more flexibility with your build. For our chest piece, we have the aforementioned Caesar's Guard with that weird bug, giving us a native weapon damage core, which allowed us to re-roll skill damage and armor regen in our attribute slots. And then we also have critical hit chance here, just like on our mask and our backpack, trying to buff that weapon damage a little bit, leaning into the hybrid feel. For our gloves, we've gone with our one piece of Fenris Group AB, 10% assault rifle damage buffs our weapon damage, and then 20% reload speed helps us get back to the max size even faster. And here again, we've gone with armor regen and skill damage that is present on pretty much all of these pieces. The armor regen is a nice way to get back armor passively, and obviously the skill damage is buffing our skill damage output. For our holster, we've gone with our one piece of Brazos Archivist to get us that +1 skill tier, and it is obviously the named Picaro's holster, giving us that weapon damage core and armor core on one piece. And then we've rerolled skill damage here in that secondary attribute slot for obvious reasons. For our knee pads, we have our one piece of Hana-U Corporation. Coupled with the Ninja Bike messenger bag, we get that 2-piece bonus of skill haste and skill damage. This is another one that feels really great with a Ninja Bike messenger bag, and with a hybrid build, you get skill haste and skill damage on one piece. We have that core attribute of skill tier, getting us to 5 total skill tiers when we're using either the capacitor or the harmony. And then for those secondary attributes, we have armor regen and skill damage again. For our skills here, we've gone with the assault turret and the striker drone. This is a great pairing for running and gunning. One note I will make, if you don't want to go with the assault turret, the cluster seeker mines are another great option, particularly for speed runs where you're moving through areas much faster. I personally find myself putting on the cluster seeker mines. It's a great pairing for the perfectly skilled talent. You're getting a lot of skill kills with those mines, increasing the chances of resetting your cooldowns, allowing you to just spam those mines over and over and over again. But if you're going for something like a control point, or you're working on harder content where you're sitting in areas more often for longer periods of time, the assault turret is always a great option to go with. Provides overwatch for you and any allies you are running with. And then that striker drone there, even at tier 5, it's a lovely output of damage. Also pulls aggro from your enemies, allowing you to run around a little bit more freely than you otherwise would, even when you're running solo. And then this, paired with the perfectly skilled talent, works incredibly well. Obviously, one of the drawbacks of the striker drone is its reduced health as compared to, for instance, the assault turret. But with perfectly skilled, between the assault turret and the striker drone, you're normally getting enough skill kills to have that perfectly skilled talent waiting for you, so that if your striker drone gets taken out by an enemy, you can automatically call it again. For those of you who are unaware, the perfectly skilled talent does store and wait for you. And what that means is if you don't have a skill actively on cooldown and you get a skill kill, you can bank that talent. As you'll see in the video, when you get a skill kill and you have both of your skills active or neither one on cooldown, it will just hang out there and wait for you. And once you need a skill cooldown to be reset, consume the perfectly skilled talent, giving you your skill back immediately and allowing you to have both skills active almost the entire time, even though we haven't really invested a lot of resources into skill haste on this build. So that's it, a bit of a quicker one here, obviously with the caveat that there's a planned correction for this in title update 17.2. So if you're watching this in the future and they have since retroactively changed all of those cores back to skill tiers, just know that those of us in the present are having fun with this build. For all of you in the present, go ahead and try this one out while you still can. Let me know if you got either of these Caesar's Guard bugs, whether it was the weapon damage or no core attribute. Obviously, if you got no core attribute, this build doesn't necessarily apply, but for those of you lucky few who got a weapon damage core and are trying to figure out what to do with it, here's a great option to go run and gun, to go run around with. Let me know in the comments if you found a use for your wacky Caesar's Guard. If not, let me know what you think of this one. As always, like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this, and thank you, as always, for watching, and I will see you in the next one.